How is it that we can get to the roots of the Akashic tree? To the roots of the Akashic tree. Well, of course, as I said, the realm beyond electromagnetic energy is just the fruit. However, as anyone would know, agriculturally, you take that seed from that fruit and you plant it, and you have that same tree. It's not necessarily the same roots, but it is in a way. You know, it is in a way. That's an interesting notion for sure. Cause it's like, can you tap into the actual original roots? That's really what you're doing in anything. That's the whole principle of the cycle of life, which is the cycle of light. In a basic sense, in a very general sort of context for as far as materially, but that's just the shell of it. You know, that's just the shell of it, which you need the shell to protect the contents. You know, how do you get to the root? Since you got to take that fruit, which is the scalar waves, which is the energy that's faster than light, which is the kinetic energy, which is the, you know, it's the invisible light, basically, because sound is light in itself. And how can sound be light? How can God be speaking and we not be hearing him, but we seeing him? We seeing what's said without actually hearing it? Because it's all thought anyway. Like, you know, it's inaudible sound. because it's all thought anyway. Like, you know, it's inaudible sound. You know, it's not necessarily sound, or it is sound, but it's not on the level of that your ear can hear it. Just like the level of energy is different from, there's more not condensed energy, but advanced energy. There's more advanced energy, which this energy comes from. We're on the outer layer shell of energy to begin with, just like we would be for the sound, right? So once you get inside the shell or on the or outside the boundary, because we talking about advanced concepts now. You know, even when you go inside a shell, you still crossing a boundary, right? You're outside of a boundary or inside of a boundary. But you really, when you think of yourself of inside of a boundary, now you're restricted from what is separated. But if you cross a boundary into something different or more, now you have that reference of what was before you crossed what was separating from what you were familiar with, what you're exposed to, right? So to be inside of the shell, you're crossing a boundary into something new, which you would be outside of the boundary, inside of the shell. And that's why I say it's sort of a fucking advanced concept, but that's really what you have to think of it universally in that way. You have to think of it universally because it's beyond just the gross sort of direct mathematical sort of, standard, I guess you could say. So the sound though, how could there be sound that we can't hear? And where is that fucking coming from is the point, right? That's what you think of when I say, oh, you know, light is sound, or frequency is sound. I'm talking about vibrations and frequencies, which frequencies are vibrations at different rates. But what is a vibration? It's motion. Motion of what? Motion of what? Motion of what exactly? What is in motion? They say atoms as far as in science, right? But atoms in itself, as we know, are just balled up concentrations of energy, systematically working in a particular pattern so as to structure and work on that structure. But what is energy? Well, my argument is that it's sound. Consciousness. That's what people will tell you. It's consciousness, basically. But consciousness is sound, basically. But what is sound and what is consciousness? Well, it's energy. But what is energy then? What's consciousness? Well, shit, what is that? That's what we will be able to discover with that seed from what we have so far. You know what I'm saying? It's memory, for one. And that is how you find out what it is through your memory. And so that's the seed we get from the energy is the memory. Are you understanding me? Okay. The seed is the memory. Okay. Now, how do you access your memory? It's through thought. Okay. It's through structured, direct, formulated, and focused thought. It's through structured, direct, formulated, and focused thought. To where now thought becomes automatic, just like that energy is. Undescribable. It's not necessarily unidentifiable, but it is beyond description. But we can identify with it personally and be able to relate through art, through communication from our own individual connection to it, through connection to each other. We can articulate it and we can appreciate our different, not necessarily interpretations of it, but our appreciations as well as our experiences in connecting with it, to it, in it. And reinforce our references to its description between each other, so as to build upon its pure purpose. Its pure purpose in this gross material reality. Right? And that's where you start at. Well, we started we started before. Okay? We started before already. And that's why we have particular lessons, particular instructions, which have been used against itself. And so it's something you gotta be you gotta be very careful with and cautious of, because it's like, if you don't realize, if you don't acknowledge your own potential, your own connection to all potential, and that be at least at 1% of the corner of every thought that you have, or more so than most of your thoughts. I'll say most of your thoughts. At least 51% of your thoughts should have at least a percentage corner devoted to the pure purpose of all potential. In the least. You can get to a point to where it happens automatically, like I said, like you're thinking universally in every word you say, because you're just being that transparent, for one. And that's where it's got to start with transparency, for one. That means you have to be very discerning as to what it is you do include. Not necessarily lying or hiding, but you don't never even have to be in front of a person that you would particularly prefer to lie to. Are you using them for something to where you can't just be somewhere else, not having to lie to them? Or what? Because whatever you're getting from them, you should be giving to them. Okay? Now, anyway, that's a whole nother science. It's a whole nother science. And we need each other, and shit ain't perfect. Shit ain't really, it's halfway even functional. However, it's how it is for a reason. Okay? And there's a purpose to that, which is related to the pure purpose of all. So just don't try to, you know what I mean? Don't try to fucking, pinpoint it or pigeonhole it, by, being like an opportunist capitalist or capitalizing off of, the most, the proximitous, capacity of it. Proximitous, when I thought of proximitous, I forgot the word I was describing. In proximitous. I'll be hating when that happens. Anyway, communication is very important. Memory is a situation, is the key, is a seed to plant. So as to get to the root of this Akashic tree, which it's a genus of tree, the Akashic tree, right? Now, if there's other genuses, shit, ain't no telling. You gotta even make it to the garden and see all that. Or the jungle to see all that. Right now, shit, we got imported fruits from off the tree right now. Okay? It had been shipped and cargoed from, it's not even, I don't know if it's domestic or it's imported or not. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know if it's domestic or imported right now. These fruits we eating. But I do know they do got the seeds and they ain't been genetically modified yet. These seeds ain't been yet to been genetically modified yet completely. Maybe they have. I know they have in ways. In fact, actually. But has it taken chemical effect on the metabolism and the metabolics of our spiritual bodies yet? And are all the seeds modified? You know what I'm saying? Who got the fruits with the real seeds in them? You know what I'm saying? And and does it take it being domestic for it to have real fruits? Is the actual importation process is what is modifying the seeds? Do they have to be tampered with or compromised and altered in order to pass the border or what? Ain't no telling. I would not hope so. I wouldn't imagine so. I'm sure that we might be able to get some imported pure seeds. I'm sure. But we might have to be domestic. It might have to be in-house grown. And even then, it's still just a fruit. Okay? Now, to get to the root, it's also the memory as well. However, we're going to need the fruits for the next generation. You know what I'm saying? We're going to need the fruits so that they can have the seeds. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to take us going to the root in our own mind's eye, taking the time to speak with the speaker, to listen to the listener. Because that's a whole nother area. That's that abstract area, that's happening in anything that's happening. And everything that's not happening is also happening. You know what I'm saying? That's that bridge between the both and the none. So it's like, we could take it through the seeds, but that very quality of what I'm referring to is what we taste in the fruit. It's what we feel as the seed sowing it in whatever we will refer to as the soil. Is the very smell of the water that it takes to nourish that seed, okay, is what I'm referring to. As far as what's going on, whatever's going on, as well as what's not going on is going on. As far as how to tap into that natural original root, if that's possible, and we don't have to go through the seed from the fruit. In order to make new roots, to grow into new branches for new fruits. For new fruits. Sound, memory. Sound, memory. Where's the sound coming from? It's coming from somebody's voice. right? That's what we associate sound with. So I'm just kind of thinking of it in a way that I can actually identify it, that's closest to home, right? So if I hear something, it's going to be a voice. It's going to be made, a sound is going to be made by something, either the wind, an occurrence, some type of something. If it's not an actual animal, and that's still a voice, right? So if I'm hearing something, it's somebody's voice, yes? And if all light is sound and light is life, and everything is energy, and energy is nothing but frequency, and I'm saying that frequency is sound itself, then what a voice at? What is the voice? And what is the message? It's called actualization, in reference to fucking acclamation. Okay? A lot of us are adaptive. When we should be reactive. And not even just reactive, but proactive. That means, of course, as I mentioned, manifesting through cultivation into materialization. That means manifesting through cultivation into materialization. Okay? That is the reference acclamation. Or that is the reference actualization in reference to acclamation. Okay? Now, once you manifest, because you have to intuit in order to manifest. Intuiting is manifesting in itself. Okay? Manifestation starts with a seed and blossoms once it sprouts and grows healthily. You gotta have seasons for that. You gotta have climate for that. And you gotta have environment for that. Right? Okay? You can plant an orange seed in an apple grove. But what time of the year are you going to plant that? You know what I'm saying? And it's still not in its best, in its most ideal habitat, surrounded by apple trees. These are likened to our ideas, to our intuitions, our inspirations, our will. What our will is connected to is directed by, which is our desire. Okay? But in turn, it's a cycle in that our will acclimates our desire. Our desire actualizes our will. No, our will actualizes. Our will actualizes our desire. No, our will actualizes our desire. Why? Our desire acclimates our will. And vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, based on what you do, based on what you want to do, it changes what you then want to do. Because a lot of people, they stop wanting to do something after they not did it or did it already. For the most part, doing something is either going to make you want to do it more or less. right? Now, if you want to do it more after doing it, you're going to have to be able to do it more in order to feel the same about wanting to do it more or not. Yes? So say, for instance, you do something you've never done before and you like it and you want to do more of it and you can do more of it and you do more of it. Eventually you will want to either stop or you will either have had enough of it or you will want all of it. and your understanding as well as your acclimation to it and actualization of it will expand and evolve to where it now manifests through cultivation into a materialization beyond what you initially
intended,
what you initially envisioned. You know what I mean? And that's where the imagination coming in. You know, you start. It's like a step. You know, like your imagination. All of your imagination is only one step, right? So you have to stretch the bounds of your imagination. It's best to explore and embrace, as well as absorb and exercise the corners and structure of your imagination so as to, of course, step as fully as possible, because all of your one imagination is merely one step, right? So we can step once, but we want to walk. And you got to do what before you walk? You got to crawl before you walk. Yes? But before you can even walk, you must step. But you must crawl before you can step. Yes? You take one step and you make another step. And you're an exceptional baby. Okay? A lot of us run. We got to get a nice momentum. And that's what that intuition is, the momentum. You know, that's what intuition is, the momentum, right? But not all babies run first. A lot of them step and they fall because, of course, they get to thinking too much. You know what I mean? They're a certain type of person, and there's nothing wrong with it. They just want to be sure. They just, you know, they want to know what it is not to do it as well. You know what I mean? But it all really depends, you know? I mean, it just really shapes how you are, you know what I mean? And how you will be with all of your actualization and acclimation. See, that first run or drop is the acclimation to your actualization, you understand? Yes? From crawling to stepping to walking, or from crawling to running. Because a lot of kids, as soon as they get on their feet, they run. They run. And don't nothing stop them until and they don't even drop. They run until somebody's arms. Or off a fucking balcony or some shit. You know what I mean? They gonna eventually drop, but maybe not. A lot of us have adrenaline like that. A lot of us have enough I don't want to say desire, but just fire in us. A lot of us have that go. We just got that go to where it's like once we in our zone and we activate it, it's nothing that's going to even, we just keep on just, you know, actualizing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ever like do something and then you just did it until something else stopped you, as opposed to you stopping doing it? Like, for instance, a lot of times, I remember one time, the first time I ever was doing graphic design with my pops, right? He didn't really realize that I was ill as I am with the graphic design. And once he did realize, like, he had all of this shit for me to finish. And maybe he was trying to like burn me out and try to discourage me, because, you know, I ended up realizing my pops was really jealous of me. A lot of times with him, a lot of things I did. Like, I remember we took this picture with Felly Phil at this one block party one time. And this would really cut me, like, about the envy and jealousy in Cuz heart. Like, I had not done nothing to Cuz. Like, I didn't offend him. I wasn't not offensive. I didn't, you know what I mean? I wasn't a bad son or nothing. Like, I was actually like an evangelizer. Nigga like me was really like saintly. Like, I didn't even have no idea about it. I know I feel fucking stupid saying that, to have that shit be going on right up under my nose. And that's what really kind of like had me really like standoffish with anybody. Not like I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I got trust issues because I don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? If you burn me, you burn me. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to fight. You feel me? That's the only way you're going to get to me. So I ain't mad. You know what I mean? Like, at the same time, I don't judge people. I'm not going to judge you for doing whatever it is you feel like you need to do. And that's the whole point. You got to do what you feel like you need to do in order to see whether or not you want to keep doing it. And if you do something to me and you see that I can forget it and forgive it and overlook it and still accept you and treat you the same as I would have if I had never known you did it, then you have a choice and a chance to just do something completely different, at least to see how it would feel or to see where you could take it if you did something different. Yes, of course, you have already stopped in mid-run. In other words, you have already done something you shouldn't have not done before you could have done something that would have been better to do, which would not burn me. You feel me? Treat me like I'm treating you, because I know I haven't burnt you, because I'm not finna burn you. You know what I mean? Not because I'm scared of you, not because I'm scared of sinning, not because I'm oblivious or you know, or naive, like I'm not cunning or coy or clever enough or witty enough. I will beat the fuck out of you is all it is. You feel me? If I got an issue with you, I'll sock your fucking faggot ass out. You know what I mean? So I don't need to like sneak around what I would do. You feel me? I'm focused on what it is, my best contribution to the universe. You know what I'm saying? Because energy is eternal. And it's nothing personal. And I'm not offended or whatever by nobody. However, just create. Just create. Otherwise, you're destroying. Right? That's the balance. That's the energies of life, creating and destroying. Those are the two polars. You feel me? You can meet in the middle to where you are not stepping on no toes, and that's called purpose right there. Okay? That's called walking in your divine purpose. And my purpose is not to burn you. So that's why I wouldn't burn you. Like, I mean, if that end up happening, it wasn't intentional, you know, and don't get me wrong, I can connive. I know how to be conniving, not conniving, but I know I'm a con artist. You know what I mean? It's not that I'm a conniving person. However, it's like there's systems and levels and layers to, you know what I mean, where you find yourself and put yourself in life. So I understand it, and a lot of people do it because they don't realize that it's worth the energy of investing, worth the energy of directing in a more purposeful direction or exchange, a more enriching as well as integral and honorable format and forum, you know what I mean? Because like, you know, they surrounded by fucking hyenas and, you know what I'm saying? Crabs, like it's crab in a bucket syndrome. You know, I'm from the hood. You know what I mean? I happen to be an African American individual. So it's like, I know firsthand about the crab in the bucket syndrome. You know, the point is basically about, running, walking, crawling, stepping. All right. And flying. We didn't talk about none of that because really you ain't got to take a step, to be honest. You know what I mean? You might end up fucking levitating before you even worried about your body. You know what I'm saying? You never know. At the same time, I promise you, everything is possible. And we're speaking about the imagination, likening the mind to your legs, to your exploration, to your adventure, basically. Because to have an adventure, you gotta do what? You gotta move. And if you're not moving your body, your mind is absolutely moving on that adventure, yes? So we're talking about adventure and being adventurous and the sense and spirit of adventure in itself, which involves what? Discovery, okay? Yes, of course, which is actualization, discovery, adventurous discovery. And so, say for instance, you do something and you like it and you want to do it more because whatever reason, that desire will either change or grow. Growth is change. It's going to stop or it's going to increase. It's going to decrease or increase. Okay, and that's either way, it's still growth. It's change. Because change is growth, and growth is change. Growth is change. You know what I'm saying? So, increasing and decreasing is change. And that it is growth. Where you end up after time is where you have grown to. Even if you have decreased in value or increased in value, or, you know, if you have added or subtracted or whatever, you know what I mean? You've expanded or contracted in whatever respects. You still have grown. You know, you've grown less. You've grown smaller. You've grown weaker. Right? When strength in itself is an increase, and so it is a growth in a sense of strength to get strong and stronger. However, to become weaker, you are also growing in weakness. Because, of course, you've had a chance to do the same or a different thing. But if you never do what it is that you would have done, then you're not growing. You're not even increasing or decreasing. You're really just in a spinning cycle, spiraling fucking loop of stagnation, static stagnation, basically. Okay? When you got to, like I said, stretch the zones to the zones so that your zones can stretch within your imagination, which is what you see as possible, what you see as interesting, based on what you've already experienced, been exposed to, and how closely you identify with your intuition. Now, there's different factors that may lead to the circumstances surrounding your status with the closeness and nearness, or acquaintance of your own intuition or another intuition, or a systemized consensus as opposed to a conscious, collective, quantified instinct. You know what I'm saying? Because you got the world instinct, right? Like, we move as a unit because all of our minds are connected. And that's why it's important for your steps to be as steady and sure and driven and actualized as you are given the opportunity for them to be. Or you make the opportunity, you take the opportunity, you find the opportunity for them to be. You seek the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Opportunity come knocking, but the door is on a chariot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't sitting at the house and the opportunity knock on your door, nigga. You in an RV, you feel me? And an opportunity got to roll up on you and match your speed in order to even be able to reach your door, let alone stay steady enough with you for opportunity not to fall out of its transportation so as to knock on your door. Okay? And if you busy driving and you ain't got no chauffeur, then who gonna open the door? And where you going and where's opportunity going? Are y'all headed the same place? Then what the fuck is it knocking on your door for? Do it got some weed to deliver to you? Is it gonna sit inside of your chariot or your RV while your wheel is driving your vehicle and smoke some tree with you? That's what I would expect, as well as I'm acclimated to opportunity showing up doing with me, bitch boy. A lot of times, it's opportunity that's driving for me. My wheel is sitting there smoking weed with me. and we get, you know what I'm saying? We get so zooted and so stoned that we'll fuck around and throw the fucking vehicle, the spaceship. I ain't in no chariot. You might be in a chariot, nigga. You might be in a motherfucking, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the fuck you in, a limo or whatever, where it's knocking on your door. I'm in a spaceship, nigga. When opportunity arrives with the next batch of grams, then a lot of times, I think opportunity is already driving. With me, my will, and opportunity already in the spaceship. We got tree already, cuz. If I hear knocking, it's probably in my mind. I'm the one knocking, cuz. When we roll up in the spaceship, I might knock. But that's if we make it there, because a lot of times we put the spaceship on autopilot so that we can all hit the tree comfortably. And if we make it, we make it. Fuck it. Just like when you run first, cuz. If you make it, you make it. But we ain't falling. I'm staying on my toes. I've been waiting months to hop on these toes. People walk around me like they got big, long legs. I got legs too, and toes, and feet, and knees. And I'm about to bend these knees, and I'm bouncing, and I'm jumping at them as I'm running for the first time. You understand me? My mama said I ran first. Fuck a step. I didn't even crawl. I never crawled, nigga. I ain't never crawled, homie. I hopped out running, homie. On the hood. You know what I mean? There's different type of niggas out here, kid. A lot of people waste time trying to see what's safe. Yeah, but you can't see what's safe unless you see what's unsafe first, kid. You crawling where? Where somebody done told your motherfucking ass to crawl is where you crawling. Nigga like me hopping out the crib, homie. On my feet, landing on my feet, running. Fuck a crawling step, nigga. Step by step. Nigga, what is nigga? I'm about to boot the spaceship up. Which is likened to the imagination, which you must stretch the realms of so as to, of course, run in this marathon with the rest of the crowd. Because your one imagination is nothing but a step in the marathon. But we running. And not only running, we winning. Call and response Q&A. Question and answer. New dimension. Essential aspects of life. Health. Action. Art. Family. culture, heritage, breathing, diet, exercise, rhythm, motion. This is what scientists will consider a paradigm shift, the tipping point. We are on a sojourn, at the onset, the plummet, the zenith, horizon, meridian, on the outskirts of the very ridge, of the ledge, of the edge, faced with the arrival of evolution, forced and faced in human consciousness, with an arrival of evolution, human consciousness, a reconstruction of awareness, the divine designation of this new dimension, a next dimension, another level of seeing, another level of being, thinking, living, the enhancing advancement of reality. Most probably believe in the possibility of many realities, several conclusions. The applicability of the general individual may argue that reality is relative, that there very well exists everyone with their own truths. The Zen enthusiasts might insist in the principle of a one universally natural and exclusively supreme and supremely absolute and absolutely truth. What are the others saying? That another ain't? How do these two relate? And where originates the dichotomy, bridging the debate. Today we explore. Life we explore. Evaluate. Examine. Investigate life as we know it. Life as a whole. Life as a whole. I'm on this topic because, it's really, like I mentioned to you, and as I was wanting to bring out, and what brought me to this thought is I was reading something on this marketplace, and it said something about sympathy for the devils. And it's like, you see where people are just being like, ultra, like, condescending, just ultra, like, just like, insulting, really. Condescending is a word, but it's kind of like, they are being sadistic, really. Sadistic humor, like. And that's fun when it's in its sort of artful context. But when it's spinned like, oh, it's sexy, it's you that make it sexy. It's just sexy in itself. And it's only sexy when it can be not so serious. Like, niggas be taking shit serious, but then acting like, try to be humoristic about it. Like, you feel me? Like, niggas be having ways that they really feel, trying to act like they feel a way, but it's like you only feel a way for so long until your feeling change anyway. Like, is the part I'm saying to you. Like, if you're doing, but if you sitting around not doing what you would do, feeling like you wish you could, or you would if you could, like, why would you if you're not? answer that question and change it first. And of course, you're going to run into situations where you find where outside factors, other than what you've actualized, will start to acclimate or influence, or rather, stimulate your acclimation to the actualization process, because it's all a process, and you're not alone. And that's the step into the running in the marathon, right? So a lot of us, as I was going to say, as I'm keep hinting towards, or talking around the issue of ignorance, for one, which is to ignore, because there's nothing you don't know, basically. Our imaginations are fueled from memory, for one. Okay, this is something that I was just actually able to just kind of like reassess for myself within my own just appreciation of how to articulate the different explanations as well as quirks in response to a lot of this sadistical hubris that we encounter out here. In this, you know what I mean? In this sort of this kind of like, it's not even society. It's more of like it's not a community. I mean, it's a community. Everything's community. And this is a lovely community. I mean, just the earth is a lovely community. It's nothing like the earth. It will never be nothing again like the earth. And so that's one beautiful thing about this very moment, is that this is not just some whatever type shit. Like, we talking about alternate and alternative, and we talking about futuristic, when, yo, bro, like, this right here is the rawest, organic, sort of just the realest there ever needs to be. And we grow from there, you know what I mean? All this extra shit they talking about outside and other than is nothing but that stagnation, really, to where it's not really even moving in any necessarily direction, because it's trying to be safe. Talking about, progression is a process. That's fine. However, like I said, imagination is tapped into the memory, and not just your own individual memory, but your individual memory is your door is the door that opportunity would knock on. Okay, is your memory, right? However, the door is on something. Your memory's on that vehicle, which is consciousness in itself. We talking about imagination. The moving conscious is your imagination. Okay? You feel me? Unless you sitting somewhere waiting for opportunity to come knock on your door, which is your memory. And a lot of people are fucking invite imagination in just so it can't go knock on somebody else's door because it's making rounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, it got shit to do. I mean, opportunity got shit to do. You know what I'm saying? It's knocking on your memory, not for you to try to hold it up from doing this shit. You're trying to crawl around with it and shit. The point is this. Ignoring. And that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people ignore that knock. Or even if they don't ignore it, they try to stall it and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and which is the same thing, basically. Ignorance, not knowing. To know is to see, is to remember. Okay? For one. Point number one. Knowing is remembering. Yeah, you may not have learned something, but even when you learn something, it first of all should be the truth, because that's all that exists. Anything other than the truth is just in reference to the truth. Okay? We talking about information and we talking about truth. Okay? That's like the difference between knowledge and wisdom. You know what I'm saying? You can't have truth without information, because, of course, how would you reference the actual functionality of this truth? Right? But there's nothing but truth. Life is truth. Truth is freedom. Freedom to be real. Reality is real. okay? Being natural, like not having to basically reverse your function, your purpose, basically. I mean, we have to dance in this pit that we in, this snake pit. You have to charm these fucking cobras, nigga, in this snake pit. You know what I'm saying? But you don't have to stay in this pit. Or these snakes don't have to remain, nigga. You can behead these snakes, nigga. Real shit. One way or the next. I heard if a cobra get bit with his own poison, I ain't never even, I mean, I would imagine a cobra, you know what I'm saying? You could take the poison from one cobra and poison the rest of them until they outro. You ever seen two cobras fighting? One gonna kill the next with that poison. So you got everything you need right there, cuz. Especially because there's more than one of them. You take the fangs from one, but you just gotta be, you know what I'm saying? You gotta be calm enough to catch it while it's striking. You know what I'm saying? Charm that motherfucking cobra, nigga. Catch that bitch ass nigga sleeping. When you rear it up, when you snatch it up by the neck, it's gonna wake up. It's gonna try to bite. That's when you catch it. That's when you nigga clamp that nigga jaws open. You take that fang and you stick it in another one of them cobras. Okay, it's already automated. You know what I mean? It's the fangs. The juice is coming out because it's startled. It was asleep, so now it's trying to be. It's on the defense. You know, so you just gotta know what you're doing. Decide it, and don't drop. Don't stop to crawl, nigga. You know what I'm saying? You gotta run on them niggas because that's where you there. That's why you there, is to poison the cobras with their own poison. Okay. Now what's cold is that last cobra. If you don't have by this time, or if you gotta use, you don't have the tool, you don't have the sword, nigga, to cut the head off the sword. I mean, some of us do, but for those of us that don't have the sword, we have to charm these fucking cobras and use the poison against them, right? And be fucking sure enough and fearless enough and remain fearless enough so as to catch all the cobras and poison all the cobras in time enough for while you still dancing, so as to come to that last cobra. Now that last cobra, right? Ain't nothing you can do about that last cobra, yo. Ain't nothing you can do about that last cobra. But at least you can keep your eye on it. You know? Until you find your way up out of that pit. You know? But I was saying, like, about that. I don't even know how I got on that subject about a pit. Reversing your purpose is what I was talking about. And how you find yourself in a pit of cobras, nigga, when it comes to purpose and being able to actualize your motherfucking purpose and shit. Is what I was talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because that's actually like the key to happiness. That's actually like the reason for existence as a person, is to actualize your purpose. You know what I'm saying? Within your own arena, within your own realm of functionality, within your own spread of influence, inspiration, and intuition, and initiative, and all those different energies and shit, which are eternal. You know what I'm saying? So don't waste infinity on temporary exchanges or responses or activities endeavors, indulgences, which nothing lasts forever, except for the moment. Feel me? Like the now. Now is the only thing that lasts forever. Right? That making sense to you? Now is the only thing that lasts forever. Well, I say, I have a line in one of my songs. I said, the only thing that lasts forever is yesterday. But basically, that's the whole situation. Yesterday lasts forever. Okay? And that's how energy is eternal. However, in order to beat eternity in this marathon, you have to actualize now. You have to actualize the now. A lot of us are in the mix in a spiraling sort of cycle, stagnant and static, and so it's difficult. And we find ourselves spending more time, just a few more moments behind the now, having to charm these cobras. You know what I'm saying? In this pit away from our purpose. And that's for a reason. But it's also because of the human nature of some of others who have their own reach and influence and intuition and initiative and live their lives in a way to where now they're crawling into their stepping, into their walking, as opposed to their initial running, in reference, not necessarily comparison, but just contrast and respects to other running that was happening. Like, say, for instance, your boy who said, you know what I'm saying, Lao Tzu, you know what I mean? He was a runner. I would assume, I would not be surprised to find out that cousin never walk either, or never crawl either, because some babies they don't never crawl. You know what I mean? You can put a baby down, it ain't finna move until it stand up and walk. Some babies is like that. And when it start walking, it ain't finna take one step and then fall back down. That's usually the crawlers that do that. You know, I mean, anything's possible. It might never crawl, stand up, take a step, and then start crawling for longer than it took for it to even take that one step, because of fright, because of the, you know what I mean, because of the surprise of that they actually did what they was thinking about doing. And that was enough for them to even get close enough, because they are, you know, they're comfortable with not doing it. Or they, you know what I'm saying? They still are exploring the feeling of not doing it. And so they move into another realm or zone of not walking, which would be crawling, which they never had done before they even stood up and took a step. Okay? It's different types of people. It's different decisions to make. And this is a new decider. Okay? This is a new decider. And so it's like, it's so many different turns to take when it comes to decisions. But what's going to take you, what's going to guide you, is your activity, is your will, is your goal. Is your goal. You know? You got motherfuckers who get carried around in a stroller until they 5, big ass, you know what I'm saying, toddler ass kids just getting strolled around. The leg is dragging on the fucking ground and shit. They shoes getting clipped under the wheel of the stroller. If you don't take that big ass, grown ass kid up out of that stroller, God. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, you be seeing that. And it's like, what's that about? Like, that's just like, you know what I mean? It comes back to this, what I was telling you about. And I'm not talking about nobody's fucking kids or parenting. I'm just talking about the mind and the imagination and the memory. Okay? I'm not trying to bang on nobody. if I have something I want to say to you, I'm gonna say it to you. If I have something I feel like doing to you, I'm gonna do it. But a lot of times I don't feel like doing nothing to nobody unless they want me to do it to them. To be honest, you know what I'm saying? It's been very rare that I've wanted to do something to someone that they didn't know that I couldn't want to do to them. That they weren't already, you know what I'm saying? Like, subconsciously feel like having the option to make the decision to do a particular set of options to them or with them. And that's why these girls, man, they be trying to see you before you see them. Cause sometimes you see a girl, man, and that just, you know what I mean, that natural impulse just pop out. Like, it's not even necessarily an instinct, it's really like an impulse because you just a goer, you know what I mean? It's like, and even if you're not a goer, like, that'll make you a goer, you know? And they have to protect that. They have to keep that pure. They have to keep that natural, because it's like, they have to keep, they have to keep their advantage, their position, their fucking, their angle on it, because it's like, if we taking it, do the wrong thing with it, then it's going to start to work against all of us. As far as that, provocativeness, to provoke, you know, when a woman is provocative, she is provoking. You know what I'm saying? We look at provocative as if it's, you know, illicit or immoral. And no, a provocative woman is someone who has, you know, femininity. She's in her feminine essence, to where she is now tantalizing. She is exciting you, not necessarily, you know, seducing you, but you can take it and apply it to whatever sort of function, as to continue to seduce a person with this excitement, with this activation, with this you know, this essence, this, you know, this natural just magnetism, you know, because we electric and they're magnetic. You see, they're exciting an electricity with their magnetism. You know, and that's why when you see these funny ass niggas out here trying to get your attention and shit, they've been watching. They ain't been actualizing their impulse. They're ignoring it. For whatever reason, a lot of time life, because of circumstances, situations, other hurt women are they moms a lot of times. Or they pops is whack, or whatever reason, or they, you know, just something happened to them that traumatized them, something, you know, it all gonna come back to us. It's all a sequence, you know what I'm saying? It's got an origin. Just know this. But they end up ignoring themselves. They have to deny themselves, right? And that was the point I was saying, really. I mean, it's really connected. That's why I'm even speaking on it out loud, so that I can try to track my thoughts about it. Because really, honestly, this is something that, like, I would not even want to even develop. Like, you know, it's like really more like a off-cuff sort of just like consideration. Because me, I like to have it like fall together unexpectedly, so that I can kind of like bring out something that I would have never thought to bring out, as opposed to coming to a conclusion and then like missing all the different detours because I got this particular destination in mind. And I got to get there before it's too late to even be able to return to where I started from, in order to make the relay, in order to make the conclusion as a universally applicable to whatever else, you know what I'm saying, inspired the reference to begin with. You know what I mean? As far as thinking, you know what I mean? Using your imagination type. You know what I'm saying? As I was saying in my other little recording about thoughts and how thinking and how you gotta be, you know what I'm saying? You gotta like realize that you're designating, or rather you're taking thinking, right? Your thoughts, or rather the process of thinking, the activity of thinking, and you're you're fucking categorizing it, basically. You're scheduling it, really kind of like putting it on like a regimen sort of program. It's like I can't help but be thinking at all moments about everything, because I got to a point to where like that became my job. Like that's even how I would make money, even past the point of it just being exciting, it provoking me, which what led me to that provoking me is because, that's a whole nother conversation. We're talking about art now, every artist has their muse. My muse happens to be truth. And the truth of the matter is it's me and her and me, and it's between us, really. That the truth is between two people, you know what I mean? Everybody has their own truth. No, every two people have their own truth. Because what the fuck does your truth matter if ain't nobody else, you ain't, if it's not in reference to nobody else? And that's what understanding, that's the whole concept of understanding. And that's why understanding comes in after wisdom. Because you have what you know to be real to yourself. However, for whatever sort of excuse or explanation, when it comes to how that functions, that what you know to be real, how it functions with another person's acceptance or non-acceptance of their own inner wisdom, is where you find that understanding, when and the information is in the middle of that being that communication between the two of you, what you're saying and what you're not saying, or what what you realize or what you don't realize a lot of times, and what you're saying and what you're not saying. Because a lot of times we can't say what it is that is best would best communicate, because we don't realize it, aside from lying to each other for whatever reason to protect feelings. You know what I mean? It really is a lot of times we be trying to ignore that inner knowing, that intuition, that hunch, that instinct that's screaming at us that we're about to discover something about ourselves that we may not like, or we may not be ready for. That we thought we wanted, but as soon as we almost had it, then we realized we was going not ever to be. We weren't going to be able to not ever. We weren't going to be able to ever not have had it again. You know what I'm saying? And we can't necessarily control keeping it or losing it if we like it, and it can be used against us. And if we don't like it, but we still got to do it because we didn't already start it, then we may not want that. We do want to know whether or not we would want it or not. But a lot of times, we want to know more than we actually want to find out. And that's the problem when it comes to fucking ignoring, okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, how you gonna want to know some shit that you don't even really want to find out? Because then you're gonna have to actually make the decision as to what to do about it. Okay? And that's the situation. It's like, we're not ready for everything, but you gotta get ready, and you gotta stay ready so that you don't have to get ready. You know what I mean? If you start, thinking about shit that you ain't really about doing, then you ain't staying ready. But if you stay doing and then actually responding to what thoughts come from out of your actions and seeing that all the way through, which is very difficult, and a lot of times don't match up because we're doing things. Most of our activities are unnatural to begin with. We're having to survive. We're having to hide. We're having to we're having to disguise ourselves and make up for shit that's not even real, because it's has a function in this sort of situation we find ourselves in, this pit of snakes. The snakes being the reverse of your purpose, so it's like, as far as ignorance, the devil, as I had said before, is your ignored subconscious. The devil is your ignored subconscious. Right? And that's why you got your conscience, right? But the conscience is two parts of your conscience, yes? You got the devil on your shoulder and you got the angel on your shoulder. But a lot of times they just take the angel poofs out. And what's funny about that, that's another anecdotal sort of satirical cynicism as well as sadistic hubris in popular art or popular, you could say entertainment. You could say entertainment. Like, right? Cause it used to start where you had the angel and the devil on your shoulder, right? But then eventually it just became the devil on your shoulder. Because that's your subconscious mind, is your conscience, is that voice that you are not deciding to say to yourself. Because when you think, you're talking to yourself in your mind when you're thinking. But you also hear your own voice speaking to you, giving you advice, giving you warnings, giving you ideas that come from what you're doing. Whether it be hearing something, watching something, that's still what you're doing. And that gives you ideas based on what somebody else, of course, just may be saying. And your reaction to that, your interpretation of that, but not always so necessarily so. Just action in general. Inspire your conscience. Yes? And so you can either respond to that, you can actualize it, at least acknowledge it, and then decide your response, whether it be to ignore it, but consciously ignore it as opposed to feeling a way about it and not doing nothing about how you feel about it. Except for try to change how you feel without doing what it is that you know that you want to do. Try to feel better. Try to feel better about it. Like, what you mean feel better? You feel how you feel. And if you feel something else, then that's you feel differently. So where does the fucking phrase feel better even come in? I was sad, now I'm happy. Sad is sad and happy is happy. Long as it's real. Now, people don't act like, you know what I'm saying, sadness is not real, as happiness is. And if you feel sad, let it be for something as worth as what would make you happy. Otherwise, you're just not as happy as you can be. You're just less happy. You're not necessarily sad. And so you don't need to feel better because you're still happy. You just want to be more happy. I guess that's better to a certain extent. Yeah, I guess that's how it could be better or worse. Because you realize you're still happy, but do you realize you're still happy? Or are you feeling like feeling slighted or some shit? Do you feel, nervous about, what you deserve or whatever? Do you feel like you deserve to be something you're not? Like, you know what I mean? You are what you are. But are you what you are? Or are you just trying to distract yourself from what it is that you actually do realize? Because of whatever reason. And a lot of times it's out of our hands until we put it, you know what I'm saying? We capture it. We have to capture it. A lot of times things are out of our hands. But that's just because we're juggling so much at the same time too. So it's in the air at the moment. But it's gonna drop back in your hands. You just gotta keep juggling. You can't, you know what I mean? You gotta catch it. You feel me? Yeah. If it's out of our hands, it's only because we either are juggling it or we didn't drop it. Or we still ain't picked it up yet. It's out of our hands because you ain't picked it up. But it's there for you to pick up and throw in the air and juggle with other things that you can't hold all at once. However, if you ever seen a fucking talented juggler, at some point, he gonna have all of them balls in his hands. And that's only when the show is done. And that's only when you know what I'm saying? After the applause is when you catch them balls and take a bow. And if you drop a ball, you ain't gonna just leave it on the floor. At the end of the show, you might keep it on the floor while you're juggling because it didn't drop one. But I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about? An achieved juggler. I'm talking about a talented juggler. Anyway, when it comes to not doing what it is that you think to do, you got to realize that's for a reason. And a lot of us, we start accepting that we can only do so much. And that's true. And that's very true. However, it's for you to change that. It's not for you to accept, especially if it's not nothing that you agree with. You know, you can complain till you blue in the face. You can complain until, you know, you feel better about it. However, you feel a way for a reason, and that's really the whole point, is to get to the bottom of why you feel like you do. A lot of times don't take nothing but a cool thought. But anyway, back in the day, you know, they used to have the demon on your shoulder. They took the angel away all the way completely. Then they end up reintroducing the angel as popping up after the devil was already there talking to you, saying right before you would have did what your quote unquote conscience was trying to egg you on to do, what you really wanted to do anyway, was the point. Then right before you would have done it, then the angel comes, a better reason comes out of nowhere. And that was just how that was just kind of the development, just kind of like the different sort of like directions that went into. I remember that. Cause I remember, you know what I'm saying? I remember like seeing where it was both of them at one point, or even maybe like in literature, like historical literature, to where it was more both of them on both sides. Or, you know what I'm saying? I just kind of was like, I noticed like the difference between the different depictions and how they would kind of present that. Like you would either have both, or you would have just one, which was, of course, was the devil guy, was the bad conscience, you know what I mean? And then, or you would have him first, and then the angel will pop out. But then I guess sometimes you would have like, cause it wouldn't really even be like, you know what I mean? Like, notable. It wouldn't be like, it wouldn't have like any gravity if you had just like the angel just like always being good, always telling you the right thing. And then, you know what I mean? That would have to be like a sort of like pointed sort of morals, sort of like exposition, I guess, if it started with the angel and then the devil came. You feel me? Like, especially in the development of it, like if it's not as soon as you would even get into it, they're both there. But to have only the angel, then the devil come afterwards, would have to be something completely crazy. Like it would have to be like a super like interesting sort of situation. That's a nice scenario. But ignorance, it got the word ignore in it. Like, as I mentioned, knowing is remembering. Even when you imagine, you're drawing on your memory, right? So, it's really what you limit. It's really the only limit you put on it. And a lot of times life will put limits on it because, of course, they want your attention. You know, people want each other's attention out here. It's like, if you can get the attention from someone, you want it. Because that's what we're here to do. Our imaginations are connected. We're supposed to be using our imagination together. Not necessarily following any one particular dominant idea. However, us stretching the zones of our own imaginations to the points to where they're universally relatable from various and versatile sort of approaches and arenas, you know what I mean, and functionalities. So it's like, yeah, that's what it's for. That's what the attention, that's what this whole influencer, you know what I'm saying, age era is about. Because it's like, the whole point is like, right, like, do you think that much of yourself to where you feel like you don't need anyone's attention? Or do you think that much of yourself to where you feel like you are important enough for people to know about you or to even care about you? You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the two sides of it, but it's like, it's nothing wrong with either one of those. There's nothing wrong with either one of those. And that's a healthy, natural sort of society, a natural sort of like, you know what I mean? Social fucking, you know what I'm saying? Setting to where it's like everybody realizes that they matter to each other, even if they aren't involved with each other's everyday activities. Just the fact that you're a human too. It's like, I have an ear if I'm here, even if I'm busy doing something else. And if you're rude enough not to respect that, then that's on you. Like, I'm not going to just assume that you're not worth noticing or worth my attention or my energy. Like, God put us in the same place, right? And whatever led me here was my actions. Whatever led you here is maybe your lack of actions or actions. It's a dichotomy. It's a balance. Whatever led me here was also my lack of actions. However, I find myself most places because of what I am doing that I should be doing. Okay? So a lot of people can't say that. A lot of people can't say that. They can't say that they where they at because they're doing what they should be doing. That they're living their purpose. A lot of people can say that. I'm not saying, I'm more special than that, but I know I'm getting a lot more attention than motherfuckers feeling like they want to try to steal my attention away from me. Or they want to be offended that they don't have my attention for whatever reason. When they have my interest, I have their interest at heart. I have their better interest at heart. More than they have my attention or I have their attention. You know, and another funny thing about that is, like, a lot of people, they be watching you and be trying to hide that they're watching you. Like, because of how special that attention is, it's really not even just attention, it's really more interest. And what is your interest in watching a person? Because you realize subconsciously that that energy is alive, my nigga. And that they need your blessing. Your blessing. And that's why you would judge them. Because now you're putting yourself in a position of power over them. If they subsist to it, and even if they don't know about it, that energy is there because you're thinking of that person. Now, why would you be thinking of a person and they not know, especially if it's not in their best interest? If you're not a judge assessing their case in a court of fucking law, my nigga. Because even after the fucking trial, my nigga, me and the judge can go have an openly neutral and casual fucking cup of coffee, okay? And not have to be thinking about each other, okay? Or worried about how much attention we giving each other, okay? So, when it comes to ignoring your own feelings, your own impulses, you're only left with distraction at that point. And that starts to fucking spread as opposed to you visiting and stretching the corners of your own imagination, building on that map that is to lead you to self-knowledge, which comes from you finding information on your journey that is relevant and universally functional to the you that you are, the who that you are, the you that you are, the who that you are. Not only in reference to anyone else, but also in reference to anyone else and everyone else. Because just because you don't know somebody or you don't like somebody or you don't talk to somebody don't mean that their existence does not affect your existence. The very fact is that everyone's existence affects everyone else's existence. Down to the very thoughts that you have, let alone the actions that you fulfill or do or choose not to fulfill or are not in best position to feel most comfortable considering before you would consider whatever the fuck else for whatever reason you want to keep allowing even after the second chance not to do the shit again. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to have them opportunities. Opportunities are going to catch up with you, right? But is you going to try to hold up opportunity because you are, you feel, you know what I'm saying? You feel like life is fucked up and, opportunity just came to because he needs attention. Like, opportunity even need attention. So that's why it's knocking on my door. It's just like, no, my nigga. He's supposed to been dropping weed off, good. Now, if you gonna be chill enough to smoke with opportunity, then you have, you know what I'm saying, the right to invite an opportunity in. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not about for me to say what you have a right to do. However, it's just about the principle, okay? It's about the principle, like, right? You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be chill enough to blaze with opportunity, because really opportunity supposed to stay with you, because opportunity will grow to love you, grow to need you around it. Because see, it's nothing wrong with having attention from someone that understands you. It's like, that's why it's so important anyway, the exchange and interchange with people. Because we're all in this realm to bounce energies and realizations and discoveries and challenges and talent and techniques, and art forms and traumas and tensions. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's called homeostasis, or it's called where you take one sickness to cure another sickness. Homeopathy or something, homotherapy or something like that. And this was alternative to pharmaceutical, where they take the same exact chemical, and no matter of your karmic background, they subscribe you the same treatment based on these different symptoms. But sometimes symptoms can be related to various different imbalances or misfunctions within your body, which actually your body is connected to your mind. You know what I'm saying? It's all mental. Every disease comes from lack of balance in your mind, between your left and right brain, specifically between, and even more specifically between your pineal gland and your pituitary gland. Even just speaking medically, speaking naturally, speaking biologically, because you got the medical industry, then you got biology, and if you realize, and if you really take the moment to even understand and appreciate biology, a lot of times contrasts with medicine, or what you would call the pharmaceutical sort of. You know what I mean? You got biology, but the study of medicine is not the same as the study of biology. And biology is also still psychological. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, because the soul, they say, is your thoughts is actually your mind, your brain is neural or whatever, right? So it's like, that's a whole nother situation. I gotta articulate that. Like, I gotta like the understanding of it, like appreciation of what it is in my mind. But it's like, I'm not really necessarily like, I haven't really like wrote down exactly my thesis. I mean, not to say that I haven't written it down. Actually, I have written down before a few times. I have several theses, and they're all locked in an online vault, and I've sent them to people too. So, but aside from like developing like my current sort of encapsulation of it, to where I've assigned different terms so as to when I'm referring to it, that's something I keep free, and I have been keeping open, because of the fact that we arrived at it together, and it has nothing, it has no function without her, and in reference to her, him, and in reference to him, us. You know what I mean? And it's just that's just the switch. That's the circulation. right? Because even, you know what I mean? Even as a son, the first person is a her, right? That I even touch, see. I mean, the same thing for a daughter too, right? So that's interesting. And that's a whole nother thing too. That's very interesting. That's a special little area too, right? You know what I mean? That's crazy. That's just kind of like the dichotomy, like, you know what I mean? Like, to her, from him, her to her, from him, and to her, from her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, but it's all from her to begin with. Like, to her, from him, from her, and to her, from her, from her. But to her, from him, to her. You know what I'm saying? But yo, yeah, the point is, like, right? Cause smoke with opportunity. No, I'm just joking. And your will too. You gotta have your will and opportunity all in a session together. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? With the desire, all of that. It's a whole actual fucking hot box. With the desire and the will and opportunity in the spaceship. That is consciousness. Okay? With the door to the spaceship, on or off. That is your memory. You know what I mean? And it's not about space travel, but at the same time, like, nigga, you gotta understand, like, you are a very acclamation, bro. You are actualization and acclamation, because see, in actualizing in itself to begin with, you are an acclamation of already determined factors, i.e. matter, i.e. minerals, i.e. freaking the very particles that are the dust that your grandparents was breathing, okay? That knew your grandparents before you was even ever thought of, right? Your great grandparents was breathing air, right? And it was thinking thoughts, and them same thoughts have circulated throughout the universe and through every person that's been on Earth and their grandchildren and all that before you was born, right? And it travels through light, right? Which light is sound, which is frequency. But even more specifically and more directly, more, I guess you could say, personally, more, fucking, you know what I'm saying, more like, more apparently through light, specifically. In other words, the position, because light is nothing but the position and the position of the earth, which is the distance and the speed of the earth away from this light, from the source of light, right? So that's nothing but, that's what time is, for one, right? So as far as thoughts and how they travel and how you came together out of material, like there's cells in your body that make up the organs in your body, right? You started from symbiosis, basically. You know what I mean? That one cell that split into 2, split into 4, split into 8, into 16, into 32, and ended up making a zygote in your mother's fucking uterus, right? The very cells in that, the very atoms in that, is light. Okay? Little baby suns, little microscopic suns, okay, rotating a sun, other little baby suns, right? What's funny about like a nucleus, right? Protons and neutrons, right? The electrons themselves are like suns, right? But the protons and neutrons are even more condensed to where, past even it being microscopic, it's microscopic It's like, say for instance, you got like a structure or a form of a proton, right? You would think of it circular or whatever, but it's really, I mean, I guess it's circular in that it's an orb and that it has like a halo, basically, a boundary of its emanation of force, or I guess you could say energy, right? That's like the edge of the universe that the sun would be inside of. And that universe is being orbited by these now other larger scaled suns, which are electrons, right? And those atoms make up cells, right? And the cells themselves are a whole nother sort of like pouch of substance, which could be likened to another larger scale universe, which is still microscopic because it's a cell, right? But the protons making up the atoms that make up the cell are like another smaller sort of like whole complete universe in itself, right? But it's on different levels and different scales of bigness, or you know what I mean, of bigness basically, until you get to the point to where now those cells make up, or those atoms make up molecules, which make up cells, which make up the cells make up everything basically. You know what I'm saying? The cells join together to make everything. Everything breathing and alive is cells, yo. Right? Like from a cell, you get everything. You know? So it's like, yeah. What's funny to me, like, right, okay, you got the cells or whatever, but the whole point is sound is what forms that cell. Like the energy, the sound is what pulls all of the different elements of that cell together. It's that invisible force. When it's not necessarily invisible, it's just that on a scale level, our eyes are configured to see the light of our sun, which would be like one of them suns inside of the universe that is the proton, which we probably have. We do actually have fucking humongous stars. They're called not even supernovas. They're called something ever type of stars that are larger than our solar system. The whole star, and that would be like an electron, basically. Even though it's still within our universe to a certain extent, but we have layers to our universe too. You know what I mean? So it really we have like this bubble of a universe that we can, as far as what we can see within the universe. But then they talk about these stars, bro, that's billions of times the size of our sun, bro. And that's kind of like to kind of give you an idea of what I'm speaking on when I say these electrons are just larger suns orbiting what we would say our visible universe is, because we can't see that big ass sun. Not without a telescope. And even with a telescope, I think they're talking about these suns that they can't see. Because if you could see a sun that large, that's big. Like if you could see that, then nigga, that shit will be blinding light. Maybe it's so far that it seems smaller, and that makes sense. And maybe we can see it within our own visible universe. But that don't mean, just because it's within our universe don't mean that that's not just like the electrons within a particular cell, because you got an atom, right? Right? So, and then you got the electrons that's circling the atom. But then that's all within a cell. That's all within a cell. You know what I'm saying? So that's the point I'm making with atoms, electrons, protons, cells. And what forms it, what draws it is that gravity. But gravity in itself is directed. Like that's the main thing really, is gravity. You know? Because see, you got to have something that is pulling that magnetism. That the electricity, that is the light, that is the motion, that is the frequency, the movement is electricity. But it is directed by magnetism. You see, that's why you got electromagnetic, you know, and it really depends on the strength or the capacity, the range. Yeah, it really depends on the immensity, I want to say the intensity of the magnetic force as to the range of the frequency of the movement of that electric force, which is all the same thing, because really the movement of the actual electrical element, whether that be a particle, because that's really how they really detect the presence of these energies, is through particles. Otherwise, you would not be able to see anything. You wouldn't even be able to reference what's really happening without light. But light is what happens with it happening. Okay? But it's happening even where there is no light. Or rather, visible light. Right? The visible light is merely where it is happening at a particular rate or in a particular rhythm exchange, electricity and magnetism, to where it is detectable from whatever reference point, whether it be us standing on Earth using our optical eyes, which is made up of cells themselves, which make nerves and tissues and intertwined. And what brings that even an anatomical structure together is the same force that separates the visible light from the invisible light, fucking billions of miles away, that we can see visibly in the sky. It's the same force. And that same force is sound, which is light. And that's what makes you, and that's really what sets the stage for for what you have to draw off of as far as mathematically, even just in functionality towards the in reference to everything else that is existing and will exist, because it can only exist based on these particular elements of life, that being organic material. The same thing everything is made of, which is matter. Right? So it's like matter is in itself energy, but it's just really the way energy is structured on a material, on a physical level. On a physical level, basically. So it's like your very physiology, your very physicality, which is your existence, your physicality, to be born after being conceived and to then decide to crawl or step or run. It's all based on a sequence of occurrences to begin with, which were initiated, actualized, and acclimated through decisions. These sequence of occurrences was all guided and directed through decisions. The first decision, they say, in the Almighty thinking of itself and affirming that it was, in saying I am. Right? Now that's a decision. And from that, every other sequence of occurrences derives from, even to the point to where it eventually makes a bacteria after whatever sort of, invisible sound force within the light force decided to clump together a big rock that eventually had water on it because of the bacteria, or vice versa. And that bacteria ended up evolving into cells, organic, or organic life cells, which then which then acclimate and is activated and interacts with light in a particular different sort of rhythm and mathematical sequence, right? So as to give you bones, to form an actual person, which will then grow a brain, so as to then telepathically and remotely receive and detect these kinetic as well as metaphysical sequences. You know what I'm saying? And that's crazy, because like that's a whole mouthful. Like that's crucial, because that's really the situation. Like, yes, we are physical beings. However, we're only physical beings so as to be receptors, to be transmitters. It's like we're antennas, really, right? We have antennas, but we also are antennas. You know what I mean? And we receive these non-physical elements, and that direct something different than just a regular sort of physical purpose or physical activity. Now, you reach the expression of the purpose of these particular sequences through your physical activity, but that is not necessarily the reason for it. Like, that's not necessarily the reason for it. It's beyond that. It's like, it's not necessarily in space, but it's not necessarily just on Earth. Because where's Earth is in space. So even for it to be on Earth, it's still in space, nigga. It's what you gotta really be able to appreciate and accept, and kind of like at least respect that. Like, you gotta see it for what it is. Like, it's not just the work. And that's how we are antennas. Because, you know what I mean? An antenna is a fixed position, that bounces a particular, fucking transmission, or a particular broadcast, really, to other, to stations, basically, to basic stations. And you can do that without actually radio waves, and the waves are going on. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, even the radio waves. But even radio waves are just a reference, or in connection to something different, something not of this necessary sort of light-based system. Because where did the light come from? And you know what I mean? And that's really the whole question that even science is trying to answer. And the only answer you're going to get from your, your belief system is that you have to wait till after this particular material existence in order to find out. And even then, it's not just for you to find out, because it's not for you to worry about. It's what anyone who is not encouraging self-discovery and searching the conscious in order to realize through enlightenment is going to tell you. Otherwise, if they're not saying that, then they're saying that it doesn't matter, or that there's no way to know, and that there's nothing to know. However, that doesn't really fit with the fact that we are here. And that whatever it is that you do intuit to want, or that it is that you focus on, lives. And not only does it live, my nigga, it blossoms. You know what I'm saying? It blossoms and it evolves, and it also fucking, not only does it live, bro, it gives life. It flies, my nigga. It breathes and it evolves. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about evolution. That's what we're talking about. Because if you're speaking about time, that's how you realize the timeless. It's through evolution. I'm not necessarily thinking about getting to a point without time, but that's what the now is until after time passes. And then once it does, then you can't change the past, so that's without time. So when you look at it like that, it's like, that's eternal. The past is without time because it's already past time. You know? So it's not to look back, it's to keep on from where we are in the sequence. You know? Whatever didn't happen is what made what happened happen. And what did happen is what made whatever didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I was trying to think about what that has to do with ignoring and ignorance. But really, it's kind of like the subconscious mind. And I was thinking about how, like, a lot of people, we have this time. But anyway, I was trying to think about what that has to do with ignoring and ignorance. But really, it's kind of like the subconscious mind. And I was thinking about how, like, a lot of people, we have this time to do all these extra other things because it's in place of what we would be doing, cuz, and that's no good, my nigga. It's no good, bro. That's no bueno, bro. That's evil, my nigga, in itself, bro. That's literal evil, dog. Because, see, them thoughts are now trapped in that pit with them snakes. And them snakes, once they eat you, they grow. And then they eat each other. And then that last snake that you would have been able to keep good, you know what I'm saying? You would have been able to fucking subdue, would have been able to fucking, or even just like train or even make your friend, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, you can just like defang it after, you know what I'm saying? Like, after you, that last snake, you ain't even gotta watch it low key. Like, you can just like, after you get done taking the venom from all the other snakes, you take that last fucking snake and you defang that bitch. And it can't hurt you. Can't even bite you. And then it just, you know what I mean? You just start fucking on the snake. You know what I'm I'm only joking. You gotta let it, you know, eat enough of the other snakes before you can fuck on the snake, because it's probably just a small snake if you wanted to get larger and shed. So you gotta wait for it to grow if you want to fuck the snake. But if you just want to, you know what I mean, just not have to worry about watching the snakes, then you can just defang it and leave it as a little snake, and to where it'll never have a taste for blood, to where it'll become all the way animal, and maybe it even just, you know what I'm saying, like develop a like sort of conscious for itself or whatever. But anyway, if you don't get to the point where you can defang that snake and not have to worry about no other snakes, you can really defang all the snakes. But by the time you get done trying to do that, you're going to need to be able to charm these snakes and keep them distracted enough before one of the snakes ain't going to bite your ass while you're trying to defang all the other snakes. So really, you know what I'm saying, you gotta, you know what I'm saying, be real systematic in how you snatch each of the snakes while you still dancing in order to poison the other snakes one by one, smooth enough to where you can get away with it. Now you can play with it once you can poison enough of the snakes to where now you can maybe defang some of the snakes and have more snake friends, but they gonna get the fucking and they gonna make more snakes, and then that's more snakes for you to defang. Okay? Now that's why you can let that one snake that you gon' keep eat the other snake so it can get large if you interested in fucking the snake. Me, I ain't worried about none of that. But if you alone and ain't none but snakes there, you gotta fuck something. But that's not the point. That's not the function of the snakes. The snakes is really just to distract you, to poison your ass from your purpose. You know what I'm saying? It's to really catch you up. Because if you don't get creative enough, you know what I'm saying? If you don't get to get inventive enough, then you always gonna be distracted from your purpose. And even after being distracted, you're gonna be consumed by evil, which is not to live your purpose. It's not your fault, but that don't change the fact that it's still your responsibility. Okay, so defang as many snakes as you want. Really, you ain't gotta defang but one of them, and really you could just strangle that motherfucking snake if you want, but you want to keep it around so you're not alone. So you're not alone. And if you feel like fucking the snake, which you probably would, you know what I mean? I'm not mad at you. You gotta, like I said, you want to fuck the snake, let it get large enough first by eating the other snakes. But that's gonna take, you have to be, you already done doing the dance, right? So that means you gotta defang all of the other snakes except for one so that it can eat the snakes. Yes, so it's one of the snakes got to keep his fangs in it, and that means you got to keep watching that snake that it don't bite you, and make sure it leave you alone long enough to eat the other snakes, because then it got hungry and it's trying to eat you, and it's not gonna eat the snakes for it eat you because you the prey. Well, shit, it eat another snake if it get hungry enough, and then you distracted it enough to. But then that's all the time that you could have been just in your zone, getting your dance on, learning about you know what I'm saying, what it is you there to do, which is to dance, just long enough to snatch up a snake, to poison another snake, that you don't have to defang, because the defanging is really the work. You know what I mean? Like, the dance is, you use a snake charmer, that's fine. And they want you actually to kill them. That's what they want. They don't want you to fuck them. They don't want you to eat them. They want you to, they don't like being snakes. You feel me? They ain't got no legs, no arms, nothing. Okay? So, what you do is, right, so even if you want to let the snake get large enough so that you can have a big friend or something, I don't know. If you know what I'm saying, you want to, you know what I'm saying? You're just weird or whatever. You got all that extra time. You got extra time, then you're just doing stupid shit. Then it's like, okay, word, you can let some of the snakes live by taking the extra time to defang the extra snakes that you want to eventually get ate up by the snake that got the fangs on it, right? But that's if it chooses to eat the snakes, and that's less snakes that you can take the venom out of to poison the other snakes that would have gotten eaten when the time come that the fucking snake want to eat the snakes. You feel me? So it's like extra shit going on. You know what I mean? When you can just stay dancing, and every time you opportunity knock, you snatch you a snake. You know what I'm saying? Poison another snake, nigga. You feel me? And what you gonna do with the snake you snatch? You gotta keep that bitch with you. Right? Because now you done woke it up. So now you gotta use it to poison as many snakes as possible. But you gotta keep dancing the whole time. But so once you start, then you just gotta keep it going. You know what I mean? Because it's like, what you gonna do with the snake you got in your hand and you using this to poison? You gotta keep it with you. You know? Or you're gonna have to defang it or put it back to sleep. But once you wake it up, then that's like it's like it's hard to put it back to sleep without waking up other snakes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, right, like you got the snake with you, right? You're poisoning other snakes with that one snake. You got to keep that motion going. You know what I mean? But you get tired or whatever. That's why you got to be quick enough to where, you know what I'm saying? You do it before you get sleepy. You know what I mean? Which in this situation, it means it's where your mind get to start to get too, you know what I mean, too worn. You feel me? You know what I mean? This is after some years. I'm not talking about nightly. I'm not talking about like a daily operation. I'm talking about like, you know what I mean? Say for instance, this day is your life. You know what I mean? Before the night is with the end of your life, whatever, right? So it's like, we talking about still time to do all of this. It's many snakes. It's endless snakes. You know what I mean? But that's what you're there to do. Is snatch up all the snakes or snatch up a snake so you can poison other snakes. A lot of times something might happen to where, you know, sometimes if the snakes wake up, one of the snakes might wake up and see that you're using that snake and try to eat the snake so you won't be able to eat so you can take it out your hand. But then, you know, that means you gotta put that snake back to sleep once it done ate the snake. And then that's good because now you gotta worry about holding that snake and you just dance until another chance come to snatch another snake. Because, you know, you let that other snake get to it or it got to it without you realizing it because, you know, snakes are snakes and they gonna try to, you know what I mean? They'll eat that snake you hold it so that you can't keep poisoning the rest of the snakes. And a lot of times that happens without you realize it. But it's okay because then that's like you know what I'm saying? It takes it off your hands to where you can just get your dance on, not have to worry about, you know what I mean, poison as many snakes as you can as soon as you can. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it happens. But a lot of times you should. I mean, you got more than one snake that might wake up and get alerted to what it is that you're doing as far as like using that one snake to poison another snake. So then it's like they work together and you got to fight off one snake, you know, while you're trying to protect. You know, you gotta fight off two snakes or even more than one snake. You know what I mean? You gotta fight it off while you're still trying to make sure that the snake you're holding don't bite you, which you're supposed to already have a good clutch on that snake before you even try to poison any other snakes. You shouldn't have to worry about that snake biting you. Okay? Now, you can catch two snakes. You know what I'm saying? You get more than one snake that wake up, that's another snake you can have. Just poison the snake before it get a chance to eat the snake you hold it. But that's if, you know, that's what you really about that life. You know, you hadn't poisoned that snake, but you think that one snake that woke up with the other snake, you said he get bit twice. So now you got two snakes. Now you able to just breeze through all the rest of the snakes, right? And you ain't got to worry about keeping the snake for your friend or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, hey, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Fuck all that. Yeah, so ignoring and shit. Oh, that niggas be having time to do shit that they wouldn't necessarily do. There's a point in that story. Okay? When you don't know how many snakes it is, for one. You know? Because they, you know, they coming out of everywhere. And you'll never know until it's the last one. You know? Because you're going to have to decide what to do with that last one. At that point. That's when the defanging coming in. And you can't defang before you know that you ain't going to need them fangs no more. Right? So I understand we in this pit. But you got to keep, once you snatch that snake, you got to keep dancing with the snake. Otherwise, you're going to run into even more problems than you already had on your hand, than you had before you tried to, you know what I mean, get creative in order to get yourself up out of that pit. You know? You can dance your way through the whole shit the whole time and, you know, then the night come and it's still mad snakes. You know what I'm saying? The snakes is still there. You've been dancing the whole time. No, they didn't bite you. And you lived to the end of the night. But it's nighttime now. It's nighttime now, yo. You know what I'm saying? And they've been fucking the whole time. So it's even more snakes than it was. While you dancing, they fucking. Making more snakes. Well, they can't be necessarily fucking because they sleep. So I guess they wasn't fucking. Ain't nobody fucking in this story. It's a tragedy. This is actually, this is a tragedy. This is a tragedy story. What do you call it? So you know what I'm saying? Ignoring, like, niggas got time to do shit that they wouldn't necessarily be doing. And that's cool. Like, if you're an artist, and that's what the whole fucking cyber shit is, like, what the fuck is a digital artist, bro? I mean, and I'm not even mad at a digital artist, because these niggas be having some ill ass shit. It's just so many people on earth now, right? It's a lot of people on earth right now. And this is like the snake waking up and eating the snake that you're using to poison other snakes. But it's more than one snake that woke up. It's like several snakes that's waking up right now. So we got an opportunity and it's like it's close to the nighttime too, right? So it's like we could chance it and just count our losses with the snake being eaten. Put the snake back to sleep. Don't get bit by the snake that ate the snake that you was using to poison other snake. But then you also got to fend off the rest of the other snakes that it woke up with, because this is more than one snake that's woke, right? So it might be 2 or 3 that's woke, maybe even more. So if you can take the chance to lose the snake that we poisoning other snakes with, because it's been a minute, man. We tired of dancing already. Niggas is tired of dancing out here, and that's the whole shit. They didn't let us get, you know what I'm saying? They trying to let us get tired, though. Because people's looking around like, that whole, like, you know what I'm saying? That whole moral, integral lifestyle was one thing, but ain't nobody fucking. Yeah, but still ain't nobody gonna be fucking, bruh. And even if you is fucking, you ain't doing the right type of fucking, bruh. You know what I'm saying? It's not even worth the fucking. Low key. It's worse to be fucking wrong. We already was fucking wrong. Not we, but y'all was already fucking wrong. Okay? Y'all been fucking wrong this whole time. Wronger and wronger, and worse and worse. And that's why niggas don't give a fuck if it's worse to fuck. To give up and just start, you know what I'm saying? To give up, because it's like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get all the pussy anyway. So it's like, fuck, we did all this just for this nigga to get all the pussy. Look. It's only so many seconds in it, okay? And I need a month of her time and attention. You know what I mean? Because I've been dancing for these snakes just like you. Right? You know what I'm saying? And shoot. Look, that's between me and her, okay? Anyway. They done let the niggas get tired at this point. And it's 3 snakes woke. At least 3. So, and it's towards the end of the night. Right? So it's like, that's really what's going on. Like, they trying to act like, oh, yeah, well, shit, it's not that bad. You can still, hey, it's change, it's modernism, it's, hey, you know, all that religious stuff is of the past. Yeah, it was, you know what I mean? Not completely the full truth. And so that in itself, you know what I'm saying? It's all about your faith anyway. But at the same time, it's like, if you can't see it in this lifetime, and that's what those books are saying, then that's a lot to fucking refute. That's a lot to justify. That's a lot to respond to. Especially when it's like, it's so many people. You know what I mean? You're gonna get at least 2 out of 2,000 people that's gonna give you some attention. That's gonna agree with you. That's gonna, you know what I'm saying? That's gonna not care. Nah, you know what I'm saying? It's not gonna make a difference to either way, because it's like, there's already too many people anyway, you know? But that's all for a reason too. There's a purpose for all of that, to be honest. It's crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's gotta go one way or the next, and I'm not trying to necessarily save everybody or change the world. But I do believe in destiny. I do believe in miracles. I do believe in miracles, yo. And just because we don't see it as probable or even reasonable or even useful or even helpful or even acceptable doesn't mean that our vision is not impaired. Doesn't mean that our vision is not limited, because especially if we aren't making a choice to pursue where the thoughts as well as the ideas as well as the imagination and inspiration and provocation that is derived from the actions that we are able to do, that we do find ourselves choosing, then we can't put much on what we see as best to begin with. So it's like you don't want to get in that mix. You don't want to get in that mix like that, because it's like, first you gotta be who you would be if you could be first, before you even say what should happen for you or anyone else. You know? Like, I'm an artist, man. I set out to be an artist in my life, bro. I don't want no other job. Not that I don't want no other job, but I work. You feel me? If I need to get like a secular 9-to-5 sort of labor occupation, that's fine. And it's not about having to do that. I don't mind. You know what I mean? Doing what it is that is on my plate, or pursuing what my actions lead me to do, or make the you know what I'm saying, presents the opportunity for me to decide upon it. But I've done that. I've made these decisions. I've actualized the acclamations to where now the acclamations become actualizations, and the actualizations become acclimatizations and all that extra shit. And it's, you know what I mean? It bounce off each other, and it's going to be moving and progressing or not. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's all about relationships. It's all about an exchange of energy, and it's always been all about being true to your fucking position. It's the sequence that you're in. It's all a matrix. It's all mathematical. It's like you can only do so much, but you can still you have to do all of what the much you can do. And that to where it can lead to you being in a better position to do more with the least you can do. You know what I mean? Now I'm a master of that. Most absolutely. You know, because I'm do something different. It's the whole point. It's not about doing more or less. It's about doing the most different whenever you can. When you have that opportunity to do something completely what you wouldn't do, but you still would like to do. You still would like to experience. You still would like to explore this part, even though you like something else too. You don't know how much you like whatever else. And this don't have to necessarily be different or opposite. It's just new. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do new things into where even new is new now. You know what I'm saying? What's new now is even new. Newness becomes new to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of us, we get in that pit and we say, you know, well, shit, this is the best of the worst. Or this is the best of the only. But how is the best if it's the only? You know what I'm saying? And that's cool. It's like, it's hard, and a lot of us don't have an opportunity. And so it's like, that's why we can just be satisfied. We can be content with having more than what someone else had. But that's what the problem you come into when you get to comparing, my nigga. And that's true. A lot of us, you know what I'm saying? Some babies don't never walk. They don't even live to walk. And so, you know what I mean? You are able to experience teens in order to not have sex. It's still a blessing. But you still have your own mission, though. Completely outside of any of that. And it's a lot to be able to say or to be talking about or to even feel a way about what you deserve or how much more a person can do when it's like, oh, okay, well shit, you're not even the best at what you are doing. Who's to say that? I'm still here. I'm still doing what I'm doing. You feel me? You still doing what you doing, dog. I mean, if you want to stop now, then don't be trying to start up later, girl, with me, girl. Because once you get there, my nigga, and I'm, in fact, the best ever to do some shit, if you was to compare, you already said about how I wasn't doing some shit, bro. In whatever time that you done gave me, bro. While you still ain't did nothing new the whole time you looking this way. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the situation, like, because we so distracted, it's like, there should not even be no time. There's so much to explore. There's so much to actualize, as well as on top of acclimating what has already been actualized before our existence and within our existence, and because of whatever else we did not choose in what we chose and what we chose and what we didn't choose. You know what I'm saying? To where there's not even any area. You feel me? Like, we've been defanged this last snake, bruh. You know what I'm saying? But see, we didn't know that snake was pregnant, though. When we defanged it. You know what I'm saying? And so then had the little babies. And see, a snake, it lay an egg. It lay more than one egg. So it don't have to be around, my nigga. Like, we defanged that last snake and took the snake with us out the pit, bruh. Right? Cause we kept the snake with us just so we can, just for old time's sake. Cause we've been through each other. We've been through so much together. You know what I mean? And it's just for the principle. Just, you know what I mean? Just for the memory. And that's what we was there to do. And that snake worked and that snake worked with us the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Because snakes want you to tame them. You know what I'm saying? They do. If it's able to be tamed, then that's what you're supposed to do with it. So, but we didn't know the snake was pregnant, right? So, and it had laid some eggs already before we left the pit, right? Because see, that snake is awake. The other one is asleep, right? But that one gotta be is awake because you're using it for it to strike at you. You know what I'm saying? And snakes are gonna wake up while you're doing your dance and using that snake to strike, because you gotta move around in order to focus on it to strike. You know what I'm saying? To catch the strike of this one main snake that you're using. Right? So it's like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? You poisoning the snakes at some point, you know what I mean? You're gonna not be really realize that a couple of the snakes that's waking up is fucking the snake you're striking with. You know what I'm saying? It don't take but a quick second for the snake. You know what I'm saying? To get them eggs in her. And then whoop-de-wop, another thing happened, you getting real comfortable, you defang the snake, so now you go to sleep. Now you can rest because you defang the snake, and when you wake up in the morning, my nigga, you're not gonna be bit up and poisoned in your sleep. But that snake then went and laid them fucking eggs while you were sleeping. Right? So then when you wake up the next day, now you fucking out of the pit. Now you can find your way out the pit because you're not surrounded by snakes. Now a smart nigga will wait. Or a lot of times, not that they smart and it made them wait, because a nigga like me, I'm not waiting for shit. I'm getting the fuck out that pit as soon as I can, so I can get to the sunlight. It's dark in the pit. And I'm not taking the fucking snake with me. I'm killing that motherfucking snake. But it don't even matter if you kill it, because it laid the eggs in the sleep, right? Me, I'm strangling all the fucking. Every snake I catch, I'm not gonna use a snake. You feel me? Look, ain't no fucking going on. Ain't no eggs getting fucking laid, nigga. In my pit, nigga. No, I'm fucking with you. Snakes is quick. You can't stop a snake from laying eggs. Is the point. The point is, make it to the next day so that you can get out the pit, right? But I guess you got to remember also to leave something for a person that fall in that pit. You know, like a knife to cut them snakes up to where they don't have to do all this extra dancing. You can just fucking slice them fucking shits up immediately. And that's you, and that's the next generation handling them eggs. You know what I'm saying? Because through the whole time I was doing this dancing, and fucking snakes is fucking. Okay? Now, we snake hunters, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm a snake hunter. We excavate pits, cause it's pits everywhere, nigga. You know what I mean? Don't wait to fall in no pit, nigga. We uncovering the pits. Okay? We running up in the pits. Now we get up in some of these pits, it's some big ass snakes. But you know what I'm saying? We blowing them shits up. I mean, now that we done got out the pit and it's over for niggas. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We get back to these swords and these grenades. Shit, man. About to go get nigga. We the mongoose squad. Niggas mongoose. Nigga fleet. Nigga. You know. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Motherfucker lay their eggs. You out the pit and they, you know what I mean? And they get to making more snakes and shit. And finding more pits and shit. You know what I mean? So now it's like, whoa, like, you know, if you don't get right back to that pit as soon as possible, but you don't never know that you're supposed to go back to the pit because you don't realize the eggs was there. You know, so they got time to do whatever they gonna do. You know, just remember, you gotta put two and two together. It's like, why are there more snakes now? You know? And keep your sword with you once you get about that pisnit. You know what I'm saying? So when you fall into another pit, if you ain't realized that the only reason that snakes exist is because, of course, of that whole first predicament. Because you know what I mean? Ain't no snakes gonna bite your ass. And so you living through days. You know what I'm saying? When the night come, you ain't gotta get poisoned. Until you get trapped in another pit if you ain't got your sword and you don't make it through that dance the second time. Okay? So once you make it out the pit, which we made it out the pit, that's why we here, and that's where we at. You feel me? We've been excavating pits right now. That's what's been going on. Pit hunting. But we ain't got to all the pits yet. Really, we still dancing. We still dancing right now. You know, a lot of us in our lives are still dancing, but our ancestors got out the pit before. Right? Okay? I'm telling you right now, the ancestors got out the pit, right? And threw a sword down for us too. But a lot of us, a lot of us don't even know that we got our sword. You know what I mean? Until we get out the pit. And we say, oh, that's what that is. That's what's that for. You know what I mean? Okay, word. Well, shoot, if I get back into a pit, then I know what to do then. You know, because once you make it out the pit, then you start, you know what I'm saying? You connect the dots. Maybe you meet some other snake hunters that didn't know you was in the pit because, you know, you was doing shit you wasn't supposed to have been doing, or you know what I mean? They just wasn't paying attention. Or you in another part of the world that, you feel me? And it's pits everywhere. You feel me? So it's like, okay, in one way, we were still in the pit, dancing, fighting off, trying to keep this first snake without having to wait until we can catch another snake. And before we fall asleep at the end of the day, with too many snakes still there. Right? So it's like, okay, we after the afternoon, it's the evening time. The sun is set, it's already set, it's nighttime, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, we in the middle of the night right now. And it's still mad snakes. It's less snakes than it was. It's less than, you know what I mean? It's less than more snakes. Even though they didn't have more baby snakes and they didn't grow. And we had to poison them too. Because we didn't have our sword. Or we didn't know we had our sword. Or we didn't know how to use our sword. But we use the snakes. Right? So the snake, right? Nigga. The snakes, right? You use the snakes to poison the snakes, right? They moving in on us. They didn't move in. And we got 3 snakes that's woke. We got at least 3 snakes that we can see that's woke. Right? Our best bet is going to be to capture another one of them big ass snakes. Because now they're larger. Right? And the poison that we was using before, we can only, you know what I mean? We can only use so much of it because, you know what I mean? That one snake is only going to produce so much venom in each strike. It's only a particular size, and the rest of the snakes then got larger because they be waking up without you realizing. Because you know what I mean, you charming the snakes, but they don't always stay so asleep. And all the times they don't come strike you as soon as they woke. And so you got larger snakes than the main snake that you can call, which was a pretty big snake. You know what I mean, for you to be, you know, successfully poisoning the rest of the snakes. But now you got larger snakes coming out. Either the babies or the main snakes that have been eating the other snakes, right? Been eating the bigger snakes. And so they didn't grow larger than even the largest one that you started off with, right? A few of them then woke up because you was able to charm these larger snakes sometimes. But a lot of times they just be like, they be in the background and they ate up a bunch of snakes and then they come about on, and you gotta try to put it to sleep. But now it's like a cool 3 of them, whether they would sleep before or not. You gotta capture this larger snake, which is like 2 times the snake you got, right? So you got 2, so you can have 2 snakes now. Because you're gonna need both the snakes to finish before the night is there, right? In order to defang this other snake. But then you still gotta get up out of the pit. And you still gotta encounter the existence of more snakes after you thought you had got rid of all snakes. Right? You know what I'm saying? This is a pit. This is one pit. It's not supposed to be no other pits yet. Okay? This is the first pit. You know? Only snakes exist in this one pit. Okay? Now, when you leave the pit, you don't realize that there's now brooding these other many little other snakes. You're not going to realize it until they pop back up. You know? So that's what's coming. It's a pop up. If we make it up out of this freaking pit. You know what I mean? And when I say we, I'm saying like you got something that's going to make it out, but then not everybody going to make it out the pit. Right? And even the ones that make it out on a larger spectrum of things, they as a group, as far as like the whole story, there's still the encounter down the line after generations of the generations of snakes that's been spreading into different pits now. And then multiplying within those pits. Right? So the best thing to remember is the sword. Okay? And the crafting of more swords. Right? So maybe that's how you, and what's cold is as long as you stay crafting swords, then you're gonna maybe find these pits before they pop up on you. Because you gotta excavate the same ground in order for the metal ore for the actual swords. right? So you just gotta stay keen. You know what I mean? The snake's gonna hide from you until they get enough to where they can actually be a threat to you. You gotta surprise them. You gotta actually get there before they realize that you would even be there, to notice that they're there, to save time. Because then once you realize that snakes still exist, that means now, while you're excavating the earth for, or you gotta now be uncovering every pit. Because you don't know where these snakes then fucking spread to. Because they're gonna spread. You know what I'm saying? That egg is there. And there's many ones that's gonna come out that one egg. Let alone if there was another egg. Either way, it's still an excess surplus of snakes, right? They're gonna breed because they're left there alone. Because why would you ever go into the same pit just to get ore? Well, say for instance, you do go into that same pit just to get ore. I mean, it's just ore. You was already in there. There ain't no threat of no snakes. You gonna go back and you gonna go everywhere you can go to get the ore. You might have, you know what I'm saying? You might be in the area. You might have not been trying to escape and, you know what I'm saying? Escape that area so fast, or you might be coming back sooner than you would have been gone. Try to experience freedom as much as you can. You know what I mean? It's just chance. You never know. You could just be like, hey, okay, or whatever, make it to where you realize you got your sword now and how to use it. Even though there's no snakes, because even though you know that you got your sword, you still got to learn how to use it against the swords. Against the snakes. It's easy because it's a snake and it's a sword, but it's way easier than dancing and putting them to sleep and taking a fucking snake and trying to poison the rest of the snakes. But you still gotta be crafty, you know, you gotta be skillful. Otherwise, even if you got a sword, you still get bit up by these snakes. So it's like, right? You scavenging the earth, you fucking scrounging the earth, you're excavating the earth of the ore. And that's making it to where you end up at the same pit to catch the same snakes before they even spread. Now that would be a miracle. And that's the miracle that I'm talking about when we thinking about how, it's a lot been going on. It's a lot of poison. It's a lot of poison, yo. And it's, a baby snake got all the poison it's gonna have in it. You know what I'm saying? At its birth. They don't make new venom. It's just got as much venom. It's got a lot of venom. But it's just gonna get larger into where it don't need as much venom the larger it get. However, if you catch them hatchlings, because you just are you learning fast enough how to use your sword from our ancestors that got out of the pit, basically. When you make it out of the pit, then you're gonna see them. They're gonna notice that you was in the pit. Oh, damn, you was in. Well, yeah, no, you know what? We couldn't come down there because it's forbidden, or we can't pass the threshold because we already made it out. You know what I mean? But now that you out, we can go back in there. And so, but we wouldn't think to go back in there because we don't realize that, that the hash is going to be there. But we do want to make these extra swords, So, ain't nothing keeping us from out of there, but we don't really have any other particular reason except for just, okay, let me just check to see if there's some metal up in there. If you do, check to see if there's metal in there, because you're moving that quick enough to where now you then checked every other option close enough to where it's like, just checking that would just be extra effort, or, you just double checking to see about how much ore you could find, even though you got a lot of ore. It's like that would be the only time you might go back up in there. Unless you just do dumb shit like me, that's probably gonna be the first place I go. Cause I'm just sentimental like that. I really am. As soon as I find out about this sword. But see, the thing about me is I'm slow. I take my time with learning things. And so by the time I would even realize in learning to use my sword about making swords, because you're learning how to make the sword as you're learning how to use the sword. Really, you probably would learn how to make the sword after you learn how to use the sword. And so that means you got to be moving quickly in order to learn to use the sword. You got to master it and like it and love it enough to where it becomes part of you enough to where you even take up making swords. Because everybody ain't going to make swords. So that's even more time it was going to take for us to find these pits without the snakes fucking grouping up together to pop back out on us from all these other pits everywhere now that they didn't spread to later down the line after niggas then got comfortable with having swords that's already made for them. As opposed to making enough swords to where we can have extra swords. Like, why would we think that we need extra swords? It's already enough of us, but we're going to have babies. And our babies will need swords. And we don't want to wait until our babies is here to make them a sword. Okay? We can, because it's not even going to use a sword until they get grown. So really it can make its own sword. And that's really the situation. That's really the beautiful part of it. Like, that's really what we want to be able to do, because there's nothing wrong with us fighting off all these other fucking big ass snakes, except for the fact that some of us is not going to make it fighting off these big ass snakes. Even though we got our swords, and it's not as hard as dancing, true enough. So we want to be able to allow our kids to, because swordsmanship is a part of life. If you live in, you're going to learn the sword, but you don't necessarily always make swords unless it's your own sword. Because if you don't have a sword already, then you're going to have to make your sword. Okay? Now, you don't want to have to give your child a sword, but just because it needs to learn how to make its own sword doesn't mean it shouldn't already have a sword that it can use. It doesn't mean that it shouldn't already, it can't already have another sword or several other swords, other types, styles of swords. You know what I mean? Right? So you got these swords, right, that the kid already know, but in your making these different type of styles of swords and learning how to make these different type of styles of swords, and the whole time you actually learn how to use the sword, because you're not thinking, oh, you're going to be searching for these baby snakes that was laid. So you're not like in a rush to try to, you know what I'm saying? You're not in a super rush because you're free now. You ain't got to worry about nothing but the friend snake that you feeding. You know what I'm saying? What you eating, and it's getting larger, but it ain't got no fangs. So it's chilling. You know what I'm saying? But you don't know that these snakes is going to eventually spread, because they still have to be time for them to grow and get to eating on each other to where they growing larger and having more babies and growing larger and having more babies. But shit, you don't know when the first of them is going to spread off into a different pit and make another pit. Even before the ones that are getting larger get the largest, you got some that might break off. And it only take two to make some more. You feel me? So you got these ones that's going to go make these other pits whenever that may be. Even if it's at the last moment that they get as large as they can and then they move, and they're giving you time to go back into that same pit you was already in. That means that's still the time factor of you having the interest enough to where just the chance spontaneity sort of just random, fluke of you going back into that pit to see that there's snakes. If you don't go in there early and they still small to where you miss them because you would never expect that they're there. Even if you go in there later and they hide from you, or you go in there early and they hide them because of course they don't want to, you know what I mean? They snakes, they gonna hide from you, especially if they small. Cause you're not looking for them, so you're not going to see them. Unless they larger, for the most part. But if you're focused and you're not just trying to do something, but you just actualizing, while you're acclimating, then you'll be smelling. You know what I'm saying? You'll notice the texture of this particular granite or whatever type rock, and then you go to touch it and you hear a hiss. But if you just like, okay, well shit, I don't see no ore up in here. I mean, okay, well, you know what I mean? You working, you trying to get, you know what I mean? You on the task, just picking into the earth, trying to get to this ore. But you're not like, just like living. You free now. You ain't gotta dance no more. You know what I'm saying? You can let the orb come to you. And really, a lot of times, if you let an orb come to you, that's how you'll end up back in that pit. Because it's just, you would have never thought not to go in there. You didn't have no reason not to go in there, but you are going where spirit is leading you. But one, you're just doing. You're doing the next thing that comes to mind, as opposed to, you know, having all of these set agendas and only able to do so much because you're trying to do one particular thing or this particular thing, which you can do that as you are also keeping your mind open to other things there are to do. And that's likened to having these different swords. Because even if once your son decides to make a sword, what kind of sword is it going to choose? It's going to choose whatever it knows to choose or it sees you using. But if you're using one sword, it's only going to have one sword to use. I mean, it's only going to have one sword to choose unless, you know, it gets influenced by its peers, which is good. And it sees that they know of another sword, or they was actually, when they grew up having these other swords to use. Right? You know, but you want to let your progeny choose its own sword. You want to let it make its own sword once it chooses it. And that's okay. Like, okay, there's other people and you're not counting on it being able to, you're not really counting on any of those factors, but you have made the decision not to have the swords around your child too. You know what I'm saying? You want to have it to where you're sure it can be sure. No, when really it's not even that it's that he's or she's sure. It's really that you can say on its behalf, on their behalf, that they really are gravitating towards swordsmanship, and when they are, and all this extra shit, because you feel like it's better if they're serious once they decide. When that's cool, that's one decision to make, but there's nothing wrong with having these other swords around it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just gives it a better sort of vantage point, you know, of acclimation. You know what I mean? And it's like swordsmanship is a part of life anyway. Swordsmanship is a part of life anyway. Towards, like, it's not going to live past a certain age without having. It's just the culture. It's just the tradition. It's going to have its own sword at one point. You know, now whether you have that sword ready before it's even conceived, before it's even born, whether it's many swords that you have that you don't necessarily even you don't teach them to use until they choose which first one they want to learn. I'm not necessarily gonna force my child, but I'm teaching that child every one of them swords every day, all of his life, because swordsmanship is a part of life. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, no, you don't want to, you know what I mean, make it so mechanical. You don't want to make it to where it's like so, demanding of the person. You're already free or whatever. But that's one thing that you learn when you learn that you have your sword, is that swordsmanship is a part of life. And if, you know what I mean, if that's what life is swordsmanship, then it's like it's only so much avoiding it that's even necessary, that's even functional, that even is proper, that's even, you know what I mean, that even really has its place. Because the whole thing is those snakes. And it's not even really about the snakes. It's about the swordsmanship. You know, because you don't even need the sword for the snakes. You know? But you need that sword for them kids who don't know how to, who get tired of dancing, who are not keen enough to watch every snake around them. I know they can. I know that's why it even is there. It's so that they do, but sometimes they don't. Okay? When we get one baby, these snakes having babies, having multiple at a time. You know what I'm saying? And our kid gotta make it out of that fucking pit. And we can't go in there to go get it. But once it's out, then any one of us can go back in that pit anytime we want to. And it's gonna take not knowing and not doing it, you know what I mean, in order to do it. It's like, in order to do what's best to do, a lot of times we gotta be we gotta be doing something totally unrelated, completely. It's the point, bro. We gotta, most times, and this is what I've learned by opportunity knocking on my door at Mach light speed. Opportunity having to catch up with me in order to knock on my door. But it's not even knocking on my door. I'm just imagining that it would be because the opportunity is already driving. And it's not even driving because we done already put the spaceship on fucking cruise control, nigga. And we smoking now. We big chiefin'. Large grams. Me, my will, and opportunity, as well as desire, then came along because we need something to fuck on. But once we land, it's pits. Okay? And one of us is gonna fall in that pit. But the other three, it's not gonna be able to go up in there and get the homie up out of the pit. It's gotta make it through out of that pit on its own, but once it do, then it's gonna come back to him that he had this sword, or rather we gonna tell him, bro, why you can just use your sword? What you mean, nigga? Oh, that's what this is? Oh, nigga, I thought this was a belt. Oh, nigga, I didn't even think about that. Dang, why did I think about that? I was just trying to make sure, you know what I mean? I just kept moving so I can just, charm these snakes, man. I knew how to charm the snakes. So I just stopped focused on that. I didn't even think about that sword. Dang. So how you use this? Well, shit, man, we're gonna teach you how to cheat. Yeah, but, man, don't you know that's what you're supposed to be doing, man? That's why you got it, man. That's why you got your sword, bro. We ain't nothing without the sword. I mean, life is life and all that. We don't really, you know what I'm saying? It ain't about the sword at the same time. Yeah, nigga. We warriors, nigga. What do you mean? Can't believe you didn't use your sword, nigga. I don't know. I can't believe it either. How come y'all ain't come up in there for me? Oh yeah, no. We was, you know what I mean? It's against the law. The law of nature. The sacred law. We could not come in there to get you. Because then it was a force field at the door and we couldn't come in. We was taking our sword and striking at the invisible, but it was no way we can get in there. So we was just calling to you to keep you awake. Man, you got out of there quick, man. Yeah, nah, man, I wasn't trying to waste no time, man. So yeah, that's how you make swords or whatever. You know what I mean? That's how you use your sword. Nigga, what you done forgot? Dang. Oh, that's what it was. Once you pass that pit entrance,